Joshua chapter 17 continues the story of Joshua's allotting the land. They've now conquered, they've now come centre stage into the land of Israel. They've sent out their various tribes into different territories, and they're beginning to allot the land to different people. And there's some problems. And when you come to chapter 17, you find out what those problems are. Okay, and have a look down at verse 12 of chapter 17, and you'll see the problem. Here it is. These Manassites were not able to occupy these towns, for the Canaanites were determined to live in that region. However, when the Israelites grew stronger, they subjected the Canaanites to forced labour, but did not drive them out completely. It gives you a little clue, doesn't it? They were trying to drive the enemy out of the land, but they weren't able to. They'd stopped, so they tried to turn them into forced labour and make something useful out of a negative situation. Think about this as we proceed in this chapter. Do you agree that God has more for you? Yeah, okay. So do I. God's got more for me. And do you agree that He is a God of power and a God of love who wants to work through me and with me? Yes, yeah. Then you say, so what prevents me from possessing all that God has for me? What stops me from going to the absolute limit of what God has? So what is it? If there is a lack, it's either a lack in God or a lack in me, and I think you'll realise that the problem is going to be a lack in me. So the problem with Manasseh was that their obedience was only partial. They'd been given their territory and then not been able to finish the job off. Here's the question: can you be partially obedient? No. You either do some, the sum is the same as none. You can't be partially obedient. You've been disobedient. Partial obedience is disobedience. And they were called to a complete victory, not a compromise. There can't be a compromise. And Manasseh was comfortable to let a little section of the enemy still stay in the land. Maybe they didn't take God literally or seriously, and they didn't obey completely, as if they were the exception to God's rule. Maybe they had a better idea, and maybe God would understand later. Now, do you hear what I'm saying through this? Because very often we settle for second best with the Lord. We say, well, I could follow the Lord and do such and such. And, I don't know, whatever you do, whatever you get up to yourself. You say, well, I still want to be a Christian, but I need to be satisfied with this habit that I have of whatever it is, swearing or lying or cheating or deceiving or telling bad jokes at the wrong times. Okay, I've done it as well. And the point is, you can't partially obey the law. What are your Canaanites like? Here's my idea. The thing that you know is wrong, but that you tolerate, that's the enemy in your land. The thing that you know is out of the will of God, and yet you put up with it, that's the presence of the enemy in your territory. So they try to make slaves out of them. They want to make a blessing out of a curse. It's like, imagine a story where somebody adopts a lion cub, and they have it as a little lion. Oh, look at that lovely little... And he's playing around the house, but you know that one day that lion cub will become unmanageable. And if there are children around, one day they might get eaten by that lion cub that today is their friend. There are some things that you can't tolerate in your life because they may grow to be too strong, may grow to be uncontrollable, and you like them, and they've got a place in your life, but it's a wrong place. You can't do it. So, what sin is there in your life that you're trying to tame and keep under control, or maybe to use to your advantage? That's what compromise means. You say, no, I can handle it. Maybe like a drink problem, saying, I don't have a drink problem. I can handle it. Maybe a gambling addiction. No, it's no problem. It's no business of yours anyway. What I do with my money, I can handle it. And so it was with the Canaanites, the thing that you decide is impossible to remove. There should not be one sin that has dominion over me. I fail, I make mistakes, but there's a difference between falling in the mud and wallowing in it, right? There's a difference between the two. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13 it says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. So I can either favour sin or fear it. I can either put up with it, put up with second best. The point is, I will never reach my full potential if I do that. I cannot keep company with the enemy and expect to escape unharmed. God calls me to complete obedience. Do you hear that? Do you receive it today? Maybe God is speaking to both of us, hey? Certainly speaking to me. Lord, help us to put our lives completely into the life of God, because then all that God has for us will come to pass. May God bless you.